To understand why Dinner's disappearance hit fans so hard, you first have to understand what Robby Layton Nation actually is, because it's not your typical YouTube channel, and Robby is not your typical creator. Robby Layton is the owner of Layton Auto Body in Ephraim, Utah, a small town tucked in the middle of Sanpete County, population just over 6,000 people. This isn't a flashy Los Angeles garage with neon lights and celebrity clientele. It's a working-class shop in rural Utah where real cars come in wrecked and leave restored. Robby started documenting that process back in 2013, uploading his first car video to YouTube with no real expectation of what it would become. What happened next surprised everyone, including him. The channel exploded. Over 500,000 subscribers and 182 million views later, Robby Layton Nation had become one of the most watched automotive channels in its niche. And the reason wasn't just the cars. Plenty of channels show bodywork and paint, jobs. What Robby had that most didn't was personality, his own and the people around him. The crew at Layton Auto Body weren't just employees in the background. They became characters. Viewers showed up week after week, not just to see a dented truck get straightened out, but to see what Robby, Hillbilly, Dinner, and the rest of the crew were getting into. That dynamic is rare in this corner of YouTube. Most automotive channels are one-man operations built around a single personality. Robby built something closer to a cast. His wife, Demree, worked the front desk. Cody brought 25 years of experience to the shop floor. Taylor held things down in the paint department. Each person had a role, on camera and off, and viewers invested in all of them. In January 2022, Robby made that investment official. He uploaded a full crew introduction video, walking fans through the entire shop and putting names and nicknames to the faces they'd been watching for months. That video is where most of the fan base got their first proper introduction to Tyler, better known, of course, as Dinner. And from that point forward, Dinner wasn't just a background crew member. He was part of the reason people kept coming back. But that chapter didn't last forever. One day, Dinner was everywhere on Robby Layton Nation. He was in the shop, on camera, part of the crew that made the channel feel like more than just a car repair show. Then, without warning, without a goodbye video, without so much as a single post, he was gone. And Robby never said a word about it. That silence is what started the questions. Fans who had watched Tyler earn that nickname, who had watched him strip down cars, crack jokes with Hillbilly, and become one of the most recognizable faces in Robby's world, suddenly had no idea what happened to him. The comment sections lit up. Video after video, the same questions kept appearing. Where did Dinner go? Did something happen? Did he leave on bad terms? And why hasn't Robby talked about it? Here's the thing. In a world where YouTube creators document everything, a disappearance this quiet is actually pretty rare. No farewell stream, no "we wish him the best" post, no cryptic social media, just nothing. And that would make complete sense for a guy who had a life outside of the camera. We're going to walk through everything we know, everything that's been speculated, and let you decide what you think really happened to Dinner from Robby Layton Nation. So, who exactly was Dinner? And how does a guy end up with a nickname like that? His real name is Tyler. And when he first came on at Layton Auto Body, he was a bigger guy. Robby looked at him one day and said he reminded him of someone they already knew, someone who had been called Big Dinner. The name transferred. It stuck. And from that point on, Tyler was Dinner to everyone in the shop, everyone on camera, and eventually everyone watching at home. That's just how Robby operates. His crew didn't get name badges, they got nicknames. Robby became Hillbilly because, in Robby's words, he simply looked the part. The names weren't mean-spirited. They were the kind of thing that happens naturally in a tight-knit shop environment where everyone spends more time together than they do with their own families. And that environment is exactly what made Dinner so easy to watch. He wasn't performing for the camera. He wasn't trying to build his own brand or angle for more screen time. He showed up, he worked, and whatever came out of him on film was just him being himself. That authenticity is something viewers can spot immediately, and they responded to it. Comments across Robby's videos consistently singled out Dinner as a fan favorite. The chemistry between him and Hillbilly in particular was something the audience genuinely loved. Two guys with ridiculous nicknames, grinding away in a body shop in rural Utah, completely unbothered by the fact that hundreds of thousands of people were watching. That's a harder thing to manufacture than most people realize. YouTube is full of creators who spend enormous energy trying to build exactly that kind of organic, unscripted energy, and most of them never quite get there. Dinner had it without even trying. He was the kind of crew member who made the channel feel real, which in turn made viewers feel like they actually knew the people behind the work, which is precisely why his absence hit differently. When someone like that disappears from a channel without explanation, it doesn't just leave a gap in the content, it leaves a gap in the community. Fans noticed immediately, and the questions started almost as fast. There's a particular moment that longtime viewers of a YouTube channel know all too well. It's not dramatic. There's no announcement, no climactic final appearance. You just find yourself watching a video one day and realizing, hang on, where is he? You scroll back through recent uploads trying to remember the last time you saw him on screen. You can't quite place it. And then it hits you that it's been a while, a long while. That's exactly how Dinner's disappearance played out for Robby Layton Nation's audience. There was no farewell video. No, we're saying goodbye to a member of the crew upload. No Instagram post from Robby wishing Tyler well on his next chapter. No comment pinned to a video acknowledging the change. Nothing on TikTok, nothing in a community post, nothing during a live stream. For a channel that had done a full crew introduction video, one that specifically put Tyler front and center as a named valued member of the team, the complete absence of any acknowledgement was jarring. Fans had been given a reason to care about these people, and then one of them just quietly stopped showing up. What followed was entirely predictable. The comment sections became a running investigation. Viewers who had noticed the absence started asking questions directly under Robby's videos, and when those questions went unanswered, they started comparing notes. Had anyone seen anything on social media? Had Tyler posted anything? Did anyone in the community know him personally? The speculation spread from the comments into forums and discussion threads, with fans piecing together timelines based on when they last remembered seeing Dinner on screen. What makes this particularly unusual is the lack of any drama to point to. With a lot of YouTube crew departures, there's usually something. A vague comment here, a subtle change in tone there, maybe a since-deleted post that someone screenshotted before it vanished. The community has nothing like that to work with here. No receipts, no hints, no shade thrown from either direction. Just a guy who was a consistent presence on a channel with 500,000 subscribers, and then wasn't. That silence from Robby isn't necessarily suspicious, but it is, without question, what turned a simple departure into a mystery that fans are still talking about. When a popular crew member vanishes from a YouTube channel without explanation, the internet does what the internet always does. It starts digging. Forums get searched. Social media profiles get combed through. Every recent video gets rewatched with fresh eyes, looking for anything that might explain the gap. And in Dinner's case, after all of that digging, the community came up with exactly one theory that carries any real weight. Tyler may have left Ephraim to be closer to his fiancée in northern Utah. That's it. That's the theory. And before anyone gets disappointed by how undramatic that sounds, think about what it actually means in context. Ephraim, Utah sits in San Pete County, deep in the rural center of the state. Northern Utah, the Salt Lake City corridor, the Ogden area, anywhere up that way, is a completely different world geographically. Depending on exactly where his fiancée was located, Tyler could have been looking at a 2-hour drive each way, just to get to work every single day. That's not a commute, that's a lifestyle sacrifice. And at some point, for a lot of people, love wins that argument. Now it's critical to be clear about something. This theory has never been confirmed. Tyler hasn't spoken publicly about it. Robby hasn't addressed it. Nobody from the crew has gone on record saying anything about the circumstances of Tyler's departure. What's circulating in the fan community is speculation, pieced together from comments and secondhand observations, not from any direct statement by anyone involved. That distinction matters because this is a real person's life, not a storyline. But here's why the theory resonates with so many fans. It's completely believable. People leave good jobs for relationships all the time. People leave tight-knit work environments they genuinely love because life pulls them in a different direction. There doesn't have to be a blow-up. There doesn't have to be resentment or bad blood or a falling out caught on camera. Sometimes the most honest explanation for why someone disappears is also the most human one. They had somewhere else they needed to be. If that's the real story, there's nothing mysterious about it at all. It's just a guy choosing his future over his routine. And honestly, most people watching can respect that completely. Here's something worth thinking about. In the modern YouTube landscape, silence after a crew departure usually falls into one of three categories. Either things ended well and quietly, with both parties choosing to move on without making it a public spectacle, or things ended with some level of tension and nobody wants to be the one to open that door on camera, or it was entirely personal, nothing to do with the job, nothing to do with Robby, just life circumstances pulling someone in a different direction. The tricky part is that from the outside, all three of those scenarios can look completely identical. What we can say with reasonable confidence is that Robby Layton Nation has never been a drama channel. That's not a criticism. It's actually one of the things that built his audience in the first place. Robby's content is grounded in the work. Wrecked cars come in, skilled hands fix them, and the crew makes it entertaining along the way. That's the formula. It's not a channel built on conflict or manufactured tension or airing grievances publicly. Robby has never been that kind of creator. That context matters when you're trying to read the silence. A creator who regularly stirred the pot, going quiet about a departure, would feel suspicious. But for someone like Robby, who has always kept the focus on the shop floor rather than interpersonal drama, saying nothing is actually pretty consistent with how he operates. It doesn't confirm that everything ended perfectly, but it does make the more explosive theories significantly harder to justify. What's equally telling is what didn't happen on Tyler's end. There was no public statement, no vague social media post clearly aimed at a former employer, no interview with a drama commentary channel, none of the moves people typically make when a professional situation ends badly and they want the world to know about it. Both sides went quiet simultaneously, and that kind of mutual silence tends to point more toward a respectful, undramatic ending than anything else. None of that answers the question definitively. Fans are still left reading between lines that may not actually exist, but the absence of any fire makes it genuinely difficult to argue there was any smoke to begin with. Sometimes the quietest exits are exactly what they appear to be. If you want to understand just how much dinner meant to the Robby Layton Nation audience, spend 5 minutes reading through the comment sections on videos from that era. It doesn't take long before you start seeing his name come up, not in passing, but in the kind of comments that make it clear viewers had a genuine connection to him as a personality. People weren't just asking where he went out of casual curiosity. They were asking because something about the channel felt different without him, and they couldn't quite put their finger on why until they realized he was gone. A significant portion of that reaction centered specifically on the dynamic between Dinner and Hillbilly. Those two had a chemistry on camera that's genuinely difficult to manufacture. They were both completely natural in front of a lens, not polished, not performing, just two guys existing in a workspace the way real people do. The humor that came out of their interactions wasn't scripted. It was the kind of thing that happens organically when two people spend enough time together that they've developed their own rhythm. Viewers picked up on that immediately, and when Dinner disappeared, that specific energy disappeared with him. Hillbilly is still a fan favorite in his own right, but the duo was something different entirely, and the audience knows it. What makes the whole situation more layered is the fact that Tyler appears to have essentially no findable public social media presence. Most YouTube crew members, even minor ones, end up with at least a small personal following, fans who seek them out on Instagram or TikTok wanting to stay connected after they leave a channel. With Tyler, fans have come up largely empty. No active accounts that anyone has publicly identified, no posts that have surfaced, no trace of what he's been up to since leaving the shop. For someone who appeared on a channel with over 500,000 subscribers, that level of digital quiet is actually pretty remarkable. It also means the community has no way to get closure on their own. There's no profile to follow, no story to check, no comment section to leave a question in and hope he sees it. The trail goes cold almost immediately. And so fans are left doing what fans always do when they don't have answers. They keep asking the question, video after video, hoping someone eventually says something. Nobody has, at least not yet. So, here's where things stand. Dinner was a genuine fan favorite on one of the most authentic automotive channels on YouTube. He showed up, he worked hard, he made people laugh without trying, and he built a connection with an audience that still hasn't forgotten about him. And then one day, he was gone. No explanation, no goodbye, no closure for the people who had spent years watching him as part of a crew they genuinely cared about. The only real theory the community has ever produced is that he followed his fiancée to northern Utah and left the shop behind. Maybe that's exactly what happened. Maybe it's more complicated than that. Maybe it's something else entirely that nobody outside of that shop in Ephraim will ever know. The honest answer is that without Tyler or Robby speaking publicly about it, nobody can say for certain, and at this point, there's no indication that either of them plans to. What's interesting is that the mystery itself says something. It says that Dinner wasn't just background noise on this channel. He was the kind of presence that people noticed when he was there, and noticed even harder when he wasn't. That's not something every crew member achieves. Most people come and go from YouTube channels without a single viewer asking questions. Tyler left, and the community is still talking about it. Whether the full story ever comes out is anyone's guess. But until it does, that question mark isn't going anywhere, and neither are the fans still asking it.